Hi everybody, Professor Christina here, and today we're going to learn about AI-driven search. So I've always been a big believer that in order to be effective at search engine marketing, you have to experience the different ways your consumers might be searching for your products or services online. So today we're going to go through 5 of my favorite AI search engines and learn about the different ways in which they work. Now, we're all familiar with ChatGPT, so I thought I'd start us off with something different, Claude AI. Claude is one of ChatGPT's biggest competitors, and it's a little bit similar and a little bit different. Now, in this demo, I'm going to search for the same thing on 4 different platforms to show you the different kinds of results that you're going to see. So I have a puppy, and I want to learn what are some of the best ways to train a puppy. I'm going to start out in Claude, and I'm going to do what they call a natural language search, where I'm just going to ask Claude, what are some of the best ways to train a puppy? This is a standard search, which many of us would engage in any time. Now you can see here I can choose which form of Claude, same as which form of ChatGPT I want to use, but I'm going to default to their standard, which is Claude Sonnet. It's going to give me just a standard result with absolutely no content linked from the web. Now, if you are in the pet product business, and up until now, you've been relying on articles on topics like puppy training to drive traffic to your website, this is bad news for you because people are getting their answers directly from their AI agents, in other words, their AI tools, and they're not going to your website at all. So I want to see actually what kind of content I can source from the web using Claude. There's 2 ways a user would be able to do that. I can simply ask, can you give me resources on the best way to train a puppy? And that's going to pull in some content from the web. And so I'm going to run that search first, but I'm also going to copy it so that we can try another version of Claude later on. So you can see here now it's searching the web, and it's going to find websites that will answer my query. Now in Claude, all of these results are actually under an expanded menu, and the user has to click in order to expand out the menu. Now, the nice thing about AI-driven search results is that they often will source content that is different from the top 10 searches in Google. Sometimes unusual content from niche sites has a good chance of ranking. And as you can see here in this Claude search, a ton of websites are popping up like Tactipup, which I just clicked on, that are different from the top 10 results you might see in Google. There's a ton of results here, both in this expandable list, as well as this list of more text-driven results, all from one single search. And that's a standard natural language search in Claude. Now I'm going to go to the Research tab, and I'm going to ask the same question, and I'm going to get totally different results. This is going to have many more web results. So this is an AI assistant. This is very similar to ChatGPT's deep research, and it's going to create a very deep report on puppy training with tons and tons of links similar to what you're going to get in ChatGPT. It's going to take it a little while because it's going to formulate a research plan. It's going to structure its query across the web, and then it's going to pull in highly credible sources from across the web. Another tool that Claude offers is directly taking you to web search, searching in your own Google Drive, and something called extended thinking, which is going to allow it to solve much more complex problems. You can also ask Claude to search on a screenshot for an image search. So while Claude is doing this thinking, I'm going to show you ChatGPT, which we're all familiar with. I'm going to use GPT 4.0, and I'm going to just run my usual search. You can see how different the results are from Claude. This one is actually going to give me a bunch of books and websites straight off the bat. Claude answered my question, and ChatGPT is answering my question also, but it also gave me a bunch of links. And again, some of these are obvious links that are going to rank in the top 10 of regular Google search. Some of these aren't links at all, but books that I then have to go look up on my own. And some of these, like KikoPup and Karen Pryor Clicker Training, are not the most obvious resources as well. And then I'm going to get my answer. And as always, I can do a web search. And that's going to give me only responses from the web, but again, they're going to be different from the websites that I find in a Google search. It's also going to do a great job of consolidating that information, which means that I'm probably not always going to click through on the links, such as this link to the Puppy Academy, because this content has already been summarized for me right here. That's the challenge for website owners in the modern world of AI-driven search, is that AI answers the question for the user if they just want a quick superficial answer, meaning they're less likely to click over to your website. However, the positive impact of AI on search is that for those of us who have a niche website, we are more likely to rank in an AI search than in a Google search. And again, just as with Claude, you can do a deep research search, and that's going to give us more detailed information. Now, the difference between deep research in Claude and in ChatGPT is that ChatGPT asks for follow-up questions that help you focus your search. Claude just ran the search for me, and it's processing it right now. It's taking it a little while because it formulates its own research plan. ChatGPT asks the user follow-up questions. So this is going to refine my search and bring it into the long tail without the user even thinking about what their long tail search terms are. ChatGPT guides them to those long tail search terms, but your long-term search terms still matter. Let's say I really want to learn about puppy socialization. And so that's what ChatGPT is going to prepare its research report on. And again, that takes a long time. To be frank, most of these deep research reports take so long that most casual users who just want to buy a product or get quick information will not have the patience for it. And so ranking in deep research reports is going to be more important for high ticket items where users always want to do extensive research, like people buying a car or a household appliance. People tend to take their time and do a lot of research on those topics. And so that's when showing up in a deep research report in ChatGPT or one of Claude's research reports is going to be beneficial to you as a marketer. It also matters a lot in B2B, where again, people take a long time to do their research. But if you're selling a less expensive B2C product, showing up in deep research reports is going to give you fewer conversions than if you show up in standard research reports. So those are two of my favorite and two of the most popular ways of searching using AI, but there are specialized or lesser known ways of searching as well. Perplexity is an AI-driven search engine, and it gives you vetted results. It's basically a standard search engine, except that it does summarize things using AI for you. And it searches across a multitude of modalities. It still gives you that AI search, but as you can see, there are a ton of links that it's surfacing, and it will suggest additional long tail searches to the user. Users also, as always, get to give feedback and copy their search results in order to be able to rate the kind of content they've received. A lot of your standard websites, the same as you will see in a Google search, are showing up at the top: NPR, the American Kennel Club, and Reddit, meaning that if your users are using Perplexity as their search engine, you're probably competing against the same really top competitors as you do in Google search results. Perplexity tends to most closely mirror Google search results, and so whatever you're doing to rank in the top 10 in Google is going to get you into Perplexity as well. But there are still spots for those niche websites in Perplexity, same as there are for other AI sites. Now, this is a very specialized research platform. This is called Cite. It is not free. It's actually $20 a month, and this will only give you peer-reviewed content. So peer review means that somebody who is an academic, a professor, or a researcher, a scientist, submits their research to a panel of peers, other scientists or other professors with knowledge of the same field, and they check out their research before it gets published. This means it's highly credible. It means, however, it's pretty much not the latest up-to-the-minute results, because the peer review process obviously takes a little bit of time. This means, however, that if you're looking for scientific or medical information or something really heavily vetted, this is the search engine for you. Let's say a family member has a medical condition, or you really want to learn everything that the latest veterinary science says about puppy training. You're going to want to go to Cite. So I'm going to put in my search here. And typically you're not going to use a natural language search in Cite because you're actually looking for scientific results. And as you can see here, I'm getting only scientific results. I'm getting things from the journal Animals, which is an animal behavior scientific journal, and I'm getting results again from the scientific publications read by veterinarians and animal behaviorists. I might use just a standard search at this point. I might simply just say dog training best practices, something a little bit more serious and a little bit more academic, and I'm going to get entirely academic results. As you can see here, Frontiers of Veterinary Science is a major scientific journal read only by veterinarians, and all of the other publications are similarly scientific. They're talking about using MRIs to understand dog brain activity, how to train police dogs, empowerment theory and prison-based dog training programs for social workers on the impact of dog training on people who are incarcerated sociologically. So this is really advanced scientific knowledge from a variety of different disciplines. You can gain access to these papers by clicking on the links. And some of them you may not be able to access because they're behind what's called a paywall. In other words, your university has to pay for the database in which this scientific research has been published. But many of these are what are called open access, which means any member of the public can read this scientific paper. This article, for instance, Working Dog Training for the 21st Century in the Frontiers of Veterinary Science, sounds just like what I want to read. So I'm going to click on that open access button, and it's going to pull up the results. Now, when you see the results, you're going to see that it is possibly behind a login. You can see here, yes, it is. And it's not actually free at all. It's $9.95 just to read that article. And that's the problem with a lot of scientific research. It said it was open access, but the reality was it was not. Now I'm going to check on a couple of other of these studies to see if any of these can be accessed. I can see this one is here. I'm going to see if that is available to me. And this is also a paid result. So you can see here, I'm only going to get a small amount of this information. And frankly, even if I were able to access this information, I would probably need to have knowledge of veterinary science or sociology to be able to understand it, because it was written by scientific researchers for other scientific researchers. But if you really want deep expertise, Cite is the way to go. Finally, we have AEO.com. This is another search engine that gives you some great resources. It is also something you can use voice search on. But today I'm not going to use voice search. It's going to give me what's called a workflow, and that's going to do a search for me, and it's going to give me those sources, very similar to the ones that I'm going to find on Google. So again, not really a good way to bypass those top 10 rankings in Google. It's going to give you comparable results. But what's nice, and again, similar to Google, is it will give you images, videos, and news. So again, if you're a niche site owner and you're looking to rank in AI searches, AEO.com, much like Perplexity, pretty much pulls the standard major websites similar to what Google is going to pull. You're less likely to rank in it if you're not one of those top 10 websites. But again, it's another way users are going to find the content they want, very similar to Perplexity, except again, it's going to give you images, video, and news. So those are your top 5 ways of using AI to find answers you want. As you can see here, some of them are slow. Both ChatGPT and Claude are still working on my puppy training resources. But again, AI is a great way for users to find your content, especially if you're a niche site. Sites such as Site.com, puppy training, and Claude and ChatGPT often do find more obscure sources. So you can see here, my puppy training report is done. Here's my resource guide, and it is pretty vast, and a lot of it is a bunch of niche sites. Still, we're getting major sites like the American Kennel Club as well. So when it comes to AI search, it's an opportunity in some cases for niche sites. Other times we're seeing the same pages as Google does. But the important thing is these are natural language queries. People are not really thinking immediately of the long tail. They're just posting whatever question they want. But these sources will filter down a ton of content for the user at pretty steady speed. The downside for us website owners, for us marketers, is that the click-through rates are not great. However, they're another way for your content to get seen and your brand to get out there. This is Professor Christina. I hope you enjoyed this overview of AI search. Happy searching and happy marketing.